Ooh, well, we're back, yeah. Just picked these up off of eBay for £10. They are Hornby freight vans. Someone's rubbed them down to get rid of the non-prototypical circle here that looks like a vent, but is actually, I think, just a byproduct of their moulding system. I don't know whether they've cut them back. It's not part of the attachment. If you've seen my earlier videos on repairing these particular buffers, the body is held on by a friction fit around the buffer stem. Now the reason I took them apart is I don't know whether it happened during transit. They were very well packed. The Hornby weight had detached and was rattling around inside, and then I saw their Heath Robinson weighting system, I guess you could call it, where they've took their tablet packaging, glued it to the inside of the chassis, and then filled it with lead shot. I suppose it's probably the liquid lead, which is basically shotgun reloading shot. It's around about the same size as I have in some of my 9mm shotgun cartridges. A bit smaller than a 12 gauge, but yeah, there's a what they call liquid lead. Which I think is some kind of powdery glue based with the lead, and then it sets. I don't know whether it's air drying or you add a bit of water to it. It's quite expensive, but so is lead shot now, to the point where, from my point of view as a gun enthusiast, buying lead shot and reloading your own cartridges is really not cost effective anymore as to buying sort of like cheap commercial cartridges. But by the by, yeah, my selected method is obviously to use the adhesive wheel weights, which is a lot cleaner, easier and cheaper than buying a bottle of this liquid lead. It does have its uses in, say, like the American hopper cars and things like that, where you've got limited space to put ballast to weigh a loco or rolling stock down. But the problem with it is you end up with little fragments falling off, which work their way out through various little orifices, then end up on your track. And obviously lead is conductive, so it can cause problems down the line somewhere. Excuse the unintended pun there, but yeah, it's quite hard to see obviously in ballast. It's not magnetic, so you're not going to pick it up with a sweep, so you can only vacuum it up. So yeah, it's not one of my favoured solutions to adding weight to a loco. I'd much rather go the wheel weight, or, you know, gluing steel in if you can't get hold of lead wheel weights at the time, or I think they're a mix of lead and steel now. So yeah, I've got to glue the original Hornby weight back in, and then remove these tablets. I don't know, I mean, I do take vitamin D. I don't take iron tablets, but putting lead in your pencil, no. Lead in your body is not good. So yeah, they'll be maybe repurposed, I don't know. Might put them in a shotgun cartridge, but they're certainly not going to live in the wagons. So that's the oddity of today. But I do have another package to my right hand side, all the way from the Far East. Those automation, mechanical, whatever I want to make, things have arrived. And the customs declaration, description of contents, science. So now you can buy boxed science. A concertina box by the looks of it. It doesn't play any tunes though. That's one of the items. Looks a bit odd, I know, but I didn't pay the extra option, and in there, excuse the camera, it basically is that. So there's various options. You can buy the best basic kit, pay an extra £1 and get a servo motor with it. So basically, if you fit obviously a 360 servo in there, it will do 360 degrees, or a regular servo I think gives you 180, doesn't it? So your servo horn goes in there, that sits on there and gives you a rotatable base basically. So you could put a crane on there or something and have it automatically rotate round, or whatever you imagine that you can use it for, which is basically why I bought it, because it was so ridiculously cheap. Another variant was this, which comes as a kit with a little battery box, which isn't particularly high end, but I probably won't end up using it anyway, other than just for testing experimentation. So basically you've just got a little geared motor in there, cogwheel and a rod, so you can obviously drill and fit something to that end or both ends and seesaw it, so it could be used as a mechanism to open a door. You can mount it vertically. I just noticed they do a vertical mounted one, another different horizontal one. That one there is this one here, which I bought with the servo because it was only £1 more, and I pay £1 for servos anyway, so that basically achieves the same thing, except you can see there's some fixings on it, and it's a smaller scale of a side one. I think you can go on Thingiverse and print off very similar things to this if you've got a 3D PLA printer. I suppose you could attempt it in resin, but I don't think it's as robust. So that's the idea why I bought these. They're just they're so cheap, if I don't use them it doesn't matter, you know, if they don't work out to what I want to or think I can use them for. It's no great loss. They were literally a couple of quid each. I think it cost me £9 something to get the 3 kits. Bearing in mind a servo's £1, so that's £8. One of these little motors is a couple of pounds, so even if I'd have printed these off, how many times would it have took me to get it right, or, you know, download something? So they were cheap and cheerful. They might break, they might not. I mean, things like that, if they break, I always think, well, I've got a motor I can still use. But that's the idea, is possibly to have these for opening a door, maybe a sliding door. They could attach something to the back of this, and then it would slide the door open and shut. Obviously you need to put some kind of micro switch each end so it doesn't keep going, if it's programmed only to a certain amount of time, so it doesn't overshoot and do any damage to anything you built. Or a steam pump or something like that, where this would be operating the mechanism to create the effect. That's the kind of idea that I've bought these little bits and pieces for, that you know, small enough to incorporate in a building or a part of scenery that's active, and create some movement. So they would just sort of, you know, they'll sit in the box until I have that light bulb moment, which might be a while. So quick jerry rig. That's the speed it goes at. I suppose a little bit of loading, you could slow it down. And you see, obviously, if I left it going, it would spit the thing out. But yeah, if you put it on a time circuit or a little Arduino project or something. Very much jerry rigged, because I haven't got the connector handy. Just for speed, quickness and ease. So we've got a servo tester, which at the minute I think is on central. Let's give it midway. So that that's just an automated servo test. That's not giving you quite the full movement, but as you can see, if you were to automate some kind of old saw, timber yard, you can have that driving the saw, and that's just from a simple little test unit. You don't need any Arduino skills and boards and things. Or you can just set it to the third setting, which is a manual. So as I adjust that, he likes it. So you could use that as maybe a gantry crane control or something like that. Workshop crane. And I bought this one because it had the little bracket with the fixings on, so obviously you could attach a cable, spring, some steel wire to it to pull and push something. Long term you would have to put a washer on those and just a little dab of super glue, because obviously those nuts are going to work loose. You don't want your nuts falling off, do you? You don't want your nuts falling off, do you? As long as you behave, you'll get to keep them.